بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على النبي محمد أشرف المرسلين وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today our discussion inshallah about how Allah and His Messenger describe and address the companions of the Prophet, the Sahaba. Give few examples from Quran and what's considered authentic narrations in our discussion. Let's start with a few examples from Quran. First verse, Surah Al-Anfal, verse number 27. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تخونوا الله والرسول وتخونوا أماناتكم وأنتم تعلمون. O you who believe, Allah is calling the believers. It means at that time the companions of the Prophet. O you who believe, don't betray Allah and His Messenger, nor knowingly betray your trusts. That means some of the companions used to betray Allah and His Messenger. Next verse, Surah Al-Imran, verse number 179. ما كان الله ليذر المؤمنين على ما أنتم عليه حتى يميز الخبيث من الطيب. It is not the purpose of Allah to leave the believers in your present state. Look, Allah referring to the believers. It means to the companions of the Prophet at that time. Until He shall separate the wicked, evil, from the good. It means some of the companions are wicked, some of them are good. Next verse, Surah At-Tawbah, verse number 100. والسابقون الأولون من المهاجرين والأنصار والذين اتبعوهم بإحسان رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عنه وأعد لهم جنات تجري تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها أبدا. And the first to lead the way from among the Muhajirin, migrants, and the Ansar supporters. Here, Allah is referring to those as-sabiqun al-awwalun, the first to lead the way in the belief, of course, from among. That means, let's see, the translation of the verse, Surah Tawbah, verse number 100, shows that not all the Muhajirin, the migrants, and the Ansar, supporters, are the first to lead the way in the belief, because the verse says from among men, in Arabic للتبعيض, not all of them. And the next verse explain exactly the same meaning. وممن حولكم من الأعراب منافقون ومن أهل المدينة مردوا على النفاق لا تعلمهم نحن نعلمهم. And among those around you of the wandering Arabs, there are hypocrites. And among the residents of Al-Madinah persist in hypocrisy, whom you, referring to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, do not know. The people around the Prophet in Medina, nobody except Muhajirin, migrants, and Ansar supporters. That means some of the Muhajirin and Ansar are not just hypocrites, they persist in hypocrisy. Now we go to the next verse, Surah Al-Fitr, verse number 18. لقد رضي الله عن المؤمنين إذ يبايعونك تحت الشجرة فعلم ما في قلوبهم فأنزل السكينة عليهم وأثابهم فتحا قريبا. Allah was well pleased with the believers when they pledged allegiance to you beneath the tree. Allah in this verse, Surah Al-Fitr, verse number 18, said that He is well pleased with only the believers, not all of those pledge allegiance under the tree. And the following verse, the same surah, Surah Al-Fitr, verse number 10, insist and emphasize this meaning. Surah Al-Fatr, verse number 10. إن الذين يبايعونك إنما يبايعون الله يد الله فوق أيديهم فمن نكث فإنما ينكث على نفسه ومن أوفى بما عاهد عليه الله فسيؤتيه أجرا عظيما. Those who pledge allegiance to you, referring to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, pledge allegiance only to Allah. The hand of Allah is above their hands. Therefore, whoever breaks his oath breaks it only to be his soul's hurt, to be a case against him. While whoever keeps his covenant with Allah, he will be awarded with great reward. In this verse, Allah said, whoever pledge allegiance to you, calling all those who pledge allegiance to the Prophet under the tree, not like the verse before, the believers from among those who pledge allegiance. This one, the whole who pledge allegiance to the Prophet under the tree. And then he said, whoever breaks his oath, which means that some of those who pledge allegiance will break their oath, and some of them will keep covenant with Allah. These verses from Quran talk negatively in strong expressions, in strong manifestations about the companions of the Prophet and condemn them. The verses call the companions as believers. Below are some of the traditions in original Arabic script with English translation, in which the Prophet will describe and address his companions. Those traditions are considered as authentic narrations in our discussion. First one, Sahih al-Bukhari, narrated by Anas. The Prophet said, some of my companions will come to me at my lake fountain. It means in the day of judgment. And after I recognize them, they will then be taken away from me. Therefore, I will say, my companions. Then it will be said, you do not know what they innovated, new things in the religion after you. Here, some of the companions, Sahaba, will be taken to the hellfire. Next narration, Sahih Bukhari again, narrated by Abdullah. The Prophet said, I'm your predecessor at the lake fountain in the day of judgment, and some from among you, referring to his companion from among you, will be brought in front of me till I will see them, and then they will be taken away from me, and I will say, O Lord, my companions. It will be said, you do not know what they did innovate in the religion after you had left. Same meaning. Some of the companions, Sahaba, will be taken away to the hellfire. Next narration, Sahih al-Bukhari again, narrated by Abu Hurairah. The Prophet said, while I was standing, a group of my followers were brought close to me, and when I recognized them, a man came out from us, me and them. He said to them, come along. I asked, where? He said, to the hellfire. By Allah, I asked, what is wrong with them? He said, they turned apostate as renegades, betrayers, after you left. Then, behold, another group of my followers were brought close to me, and when I recognized them, a man came out from me and them. He said to them, come along. I asked, where? He said, to the hellfire. By Allah, I asked, what is wrong with them? He said, they turn apostate as renegades, betrayers, after you left. So I did not see any one of them escaping except a very few who were like camels without shepherd. Allah and His Messenger condemn some of the companions in a very strong and harsh statements. And still some people call all of the companions radiyallahu anhum ajma'in. Allah is pleased with all of them. I don't know how. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.